What up, guys? Welcome to Harry Dating Conversations. This is the show where you learn how to date as your authentic self and be able to get the love of life that you've always desired. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. Today's going to be a short show, but I thought for Friday, you know what? I talk a lot about various numbers on here that will help you to better date and better know how to attract women when there's the right timing for stuff. And so I figured for this show, I would just do a complete composite of various numbers that are going to help you out in the dating game. So you'll know when the timing of things should happen. So you'll have a probability that's higher of you getting the results that you want. So let's go ahead and get into that in today's episode of Harry Dating Combos. And as always, this show is brought to you by theharrywilmington.com. You can go there to check out my ebooks, audiobooks, and programs like this one right here. As always, this show is brought to you by Get Girls Academy, my exclusive program designed to help you attract, date, and keep the women you want. As a member, you'll gain access to proven strategies, insider tips, and bi-monthly group coaching sessions where we tackle your biggest questions live. Click the link in the description to learn more and join today. And again, you can check all that stuff out at harrywilmington.com. So let's go ahead and get into today's video. So like I said in the intro, I constantly on the show am telling you guys various numbers of things, the timing of X amount of weeks to do this thing, months to do this thing. And so I thought it would be good to just have a video that really nails down all the numbers that you need to know. So that way, when you start going into dating, you'll have a better gauge of where you should be at and what should be happening based on timing and numbers. And then, of course, if you want an extended version of what that actually looks like, I have my program, Get Girls Academy, that has a program in there called the Top Secret Dating Blueprint that walks you through the in and outs of what to actually do during the months that you're dating a woman to make sure that she gets to where she wants you to be the boyfriend. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into some numbers, shall we? So first off, the primary number that I say on here quite often is 2 to 3 months, which I tell you guys on average, 2 to 3 months is the amount of time that a woman is going to need in order to, I'll say, better solidify her feelings for you. Like some women may decide after a month that they want you as the boyfriend, but 2 to 3 months gives a woman enough time to really vet you properly, to see how she feels about you, to see what level of consistency you have, as well as to build up trust. So this is a good gauge of how much time a woman's gonna need. At most, it's typically 3 months, maybe 3.5, but I have found usually by around the 2.5 month mark, if you're doing everything right, she's gonna want a relationship, all right? Now, within that time frame though, there are other various numbers you need to know. So to start out with, women, you should be dating between 2 to 4 women during the time that you're dating anybody in particular. You know, even if you have a woman that is your particular favorite, I have found that especially for you guys that are early on daters, the more women you can date at one time, the less, I'll say the less desperate you are for any one woman's attention. And that's going to actually be good for you because women, as much as they like you, they don't want to feel like you're end all be all. And also, if you're just dating one woman, you're going to be stressed out about having to make this one woman work. Whereas if you date multiple women, you'll start to get the feeling, tone, and understanding that one, you'd actually match up with a variety of women. And two, that'll keep your mind open to the idea that if the woman you're dating doesn't work out, you're not going to be too stressed because you know there are other women out there. So in the beginning, as a young dater, I would say try to be dating between 2 to 4 women at a time. And then as you get older and more experienced, if you decide to just date one at a time, you'll go in it knowing that you're still not going to be acting as if you're so desperate for her attention that you'll let her walk all over you. Anyway, during the course of the 3 months, what should your dating pattern look like? Well, for starters, the number one, and that stands for 1 time a week. That is the number of times that you as the guy should be reaching out to her to ask her for a date and take her out. So in the beginning, sometimes guys make the mistake of thinking they want to do like 3 or 4 dates in 1 week and thinking that that's going to allow them to fast track to relationship land. I have found that typically if you actually air better if you're a bit more patient and you start out at just 1 date per week. And what will happen is as you're suggesting 1 date per week, and she starts to build up more attraction to you, she's going to want to see you more, at which point she herself will start suggesting other days of the week you guys should meet up. And so this is why you want to keep it at 1, because you want her coming in, and that's going to be a barometer for you to see, oh, she's building more attraction because she's asking for more of my time. So keep the number to 1 time per week that you take her out, and then it'll get more as she increases her interest. Another thing, on these dates, 45 to 90 minutes. That should be the average amount of time that you spend on a first date. The goal of the first date is to make a great impression, and then at the height of her enjoyment for you, you get out. And too many men make the mistake of spending 3, 4, 5, 6 hours on a first date. Now, obviously, if you hook up with the woman, you're going to spend a little bit more time with her, but you want to leave her wanting more. And so I have found that 45 minutes to 90 minutes is the sweet spot for how long you should take a woman out on a first date. That's going to leave her wanting you more. It's going to leave her curious about you. She has enough of an experience with you to know that you're a good time, but she doesn't know how good of a good time you could be. And that's going to make her want to go home and talk to her girlfriends about wanting to potentially spend more time with you. So yeah, 45 to 90 minutes tops. It shouldn't be much longer than that. If it is, I have found there typically tends to be less of a return on investment the longer you're with her on those first few dates, because it can start to get a little mundane. You don't know each other, so the conversation can start to go a bit dry, and then you end up looking bad as a result, you know? Another thing, another bit of math here, 2, that is the number of compliments maximum that you should be giving women on these first dates. No fawning all over her and her body and all this stuff and giving just compliment after compliment. 2 compliments. And the compliments, by the way, one of the compliments should be something about her look, not her body specifically, but something she had to pick out. Her dress, her earrings, her makeup, her hair, something that she had to possibly put together herself that indicates that you're appreciating her effort and not something that was just grown out of her. And then the other compliment is something about her personality. Somewhere down the line, you're like, oh, you have such a great laugh, or oh, you seem like a really hard, worker. You really seem to care about your family. That's so great. Like, those are the 2 compliments. Only 2. Any more than that, she's going to start to feel like it's overkill, that you're begging for her approval, and we don't want to give that impression, okay? Another bit of math. On the date, 70 to 30. 70% is the amount of time that she should be talking, and 30% is the amount of time that you should be talking about yourselves, because we want to get as much intel from her as possible. 1, to see what she's about, but also to be able to plan future dates. We want to hear what her likes are, her dislikes, her interests, things that she's into, and that's going to give you more intel, as well as learning a bit about her life, so you get an idea of the kind of person that she is, all right? And then again, with guys in particular, we want there to be an air of mystery about you, and that only comes if you're not blabbing all about yourself. So you want to keep how much you're talking to 30%. And I'm saying this because I've heard too many women complain about guys just taking over a conversation on a date, and then they're sitting there wondering, like, he's just talking about himself. He's not getting to know me. And I get it. I know you want to tell her all about you because you're thinking she needs to know a whole lot about you to decide to like you. But people like talking about themselves. Women like the idea of somebody asking them questions and vibing off of them, and they don't get to do that all the time. So yeah, when you're on a date, 70-30. And the opposite is also true. You should be spending 70% of your time being an active listener and really taking in what she's saying, what she's feeling, etc. So you'll know for future dates how to plan those and how to be around her. Another thing, so after the date, right? People always wonder, how long should they wait until they reach out to her to, say, give a good night text, or I had a good time date text, yada, yada, yada. My answer is 0. The reality is that at the point that the date ends, 4 days. 4 days is the math, which I found to be the minimum amount of time that you should wait before you reach out again to her to ask her for another date. Now, people will fight me on this all day. Women in particular will say, I'm not that kind of woman. If a guy didn't text me back right away after a date, I would blah, 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 blah. The reality is, if a woman really has high interest in you, she does not come across high interest guys that she has high interest in every day. And so therefore, she'll be happy if you wait 2 weeks and reach out. She just wants to hear from you. I know this because I've tested it. I've tested out waiting 4 days, 7 days, 9 days, 2 months. If they have a high interest, it's not going to matter when you reach out. But it can be a detriment if you reach out too soon, because she's going to start thinking things like he's needy, he doesn't have any other prospects, he's desperate, yada, yada, yada. You can't get that impression if you wait a few days. So again, I found the minimum time that works is 4 days. And I say that's for reaching out to her. If she initiates a text to you during that time, obviously you're going to want to respond back, but you should only be using the phone in the first place to reach out to get dates. So you wait 4 days and then you text her. I found that typically works. And you'll find in between that time, she's building up interest. She's talking about you with family. I've talked about that on other shows before, but suffice to say, it's only good things happening when you're not reaching out. Okay. And then after that first date, 2 to 4 hours is about the standard amount of time for subsequent dates. Now, again, if you hook up with her, they can go longer, but you still want to kind of look at, in terms of what your planning is, your plan should be, you're going to plan out a 2 to 4 hour date. You're not going to hold up any more of her time. And then if on the date, she's having such a good time that she asks or decides that she wants to extend it, that's when you can decide to extend it. But you should just go in knowing 2 to 4 dates is the sweet spot. It's enough to have a good time. But if she has other commitments, other things to get to the next day, or she's tired or whatever, that gives her an out. Because too many women go on dates and then they get trapped because the guy's like, oh, let's go one more place. Oh, let's go this place. Oh, let's do this. And then next thing you know, she's been out for 6 hours. She's not trying to be combative because women don't like to have conversations like that. So she's trying to go along with the flow, but she may not be telling you, I'm ready to go home. Versus if you say after like 2.5 hours, okay, well, this was fun. Let me go ahead and drop you off at home. Then if she wants more of your time, she can say, well, let's do something else instead. Let's go to another bar or whatever, but let her be the one to bring that up. You plan 2 to 4 hours. It's a safe bet. Next up, we have the numbers 3 to 5 dates. 3 to 5 dates on average now is about how long it takes for women to want to hook up with you, right? And now here's the thing, right? Is that some women, they may, after that first date, decide that she's ready to go. And that's totally fine. But what the problem, I'm giving you the numbers here because I find on average, even if a woman has the hots for you, she may have been burned in the past, or she may be still trying to do her due diligence about you and may just need a bit more time. And too many dudes go on this tangent of like, it's been 2 dates, we haven't hooked up. Oh, I'm so mad. And they ruin the chance with the woman that probably would have hooked up with them on like date 4 or 5, right? So just get in your head, as horny as you possibly are, as well dressed as she is, as good as she smells, she may not be ready to do that step all the way until between dates 3 and 5. And it may even be a little bit longer. Like if you're doing the right stuff on the dates early on and not trying to push the sex agenda, you'll find it typically happens a lot faster. But even with that, on average, I find it's like between 3 to 5. Have I had it sooner? Of course I have. But that doesn't mean that when I go on dates, I'm expecting that. I'm expecting this first date, we're going to have a good time. I'm going to show her the best I possibly can. And then we're going to have another fun time. And at some point in the future, we'll hook up. It's going to happen. So I'm not going to rush it. I find by me not being on a rush schedule, they rush their schedule a lot quicker. So just some things to consider. But have in your head 3 to 5 dates on average. All right. Another thing. The 1 to 3 ratio. So I say this all the time to you guys. It's the ratio of the things that she can get away with more so than you can. So for example, I tell you guys, for every 3 texts that she initiates, you can initiate 1 text. For every 3 times she says, you're such a great guy and you're so wonderful and I think you're blah, 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 you can say one of those things. Why? Because of the other end of that, which is that women feel things 3 times more than when we say them. So if you say to a girl on date 1, just so you know, I can already see myself falling for you, what she hears is, I'm ready to marry you. You don't want to do that. So you got to be mindful, especially when you're verbalizing things. For every 3 times she verbalizes it, then it's okay for you to verbalize it. If you start trying to match how often she's verbalizing it, it's always going to feel like too much and she's going to lose interest. Another number is 1 to 2 times per week. So usually after you hook up with the woman, this is about how often it's going to be cool to see her where she's not feeling like it's being overwhelming. At the point that you guys hook up, going from seeing her once a week to seeing her twice a week, that's going to be pretty standard because usually by that point, she'll have also started requesting more of your time. Like you'll take her out on a Thursday and she'll be like, hey, what are you doing Sunday? I thought we could have like a picnic or something together. Expect that to happen. That's totally normal between months like 1 and months 2, where you see each other twice a week. Okay. And then another number to know is 4 to 6 dates. 4 to 6 dates is the average amount of time it's going to take a woman before she either A, starts taking you out on dates, or B, starts paying for you for miscellaneous stuff. Like she'll go to the store and say, hey, I know your favorite pie is like apple. I found an apple pie and I just bought it for you. And I want you to know this number because I've had a lot of guys write me after like 2 dates saying, so at what point is she going to start planning dates? At what point is she going to buy me stuff? And I get it. They're new. They don't understand how this goes. Women need to start feeling more things for you. And as they build up feelings for you, they can't help but to want to show that by taking you out and buying you things, right? So if she has not done that yet, it means even though she's having a good time on these dates, she's still trying to build up more feelings to where she starts wanting to do that stuff voluntarily. You trying to ask that of her in the first couple of months of dating is going to be a failure more often than not. So, but around dates 4 to 6, you'll have taken her out a few times. She'll start recognizing that she likes you, she's having a good time, and that you're also spending quite a few resources, and now she wants to balance it out. At which point she'll come to you and say, hey, this dinner might treat her. Hey, let's go to like Chick-fil-A and I'll get you a chicken nugget thing or whatever. Or I bought this thing from the store because I thought of you. Like that'll start happening between dates 4 and 6. So look out for that. Then 10 dates is ultimately the goalpost. So it's 10 dates equates to, if you're taking her out once a week, 10 dates equates to about 2.5 months. 10 dates is about the amount of time that it takes for a woman to start feeling the things she needs to feel, to start realizing, oh my God, this is such a great guy. I don't want to lose him, but we don't have titles yet. What do I do? And that's around the time that she'll typically come to you and start the whole, hey, what are we? I'm only exclusive with you. Where do you see this going? Yada, 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 right? And again, it's good to know this number because a lot of guys think after like 3 or 4 dates, she should already be there. Again, if we go back to the earlier number, it takes women 2 to 3 months of seeing you to solidify their feelings. That equates to about 10 to 12 dates. So when that happens, trust me, guy, she's going to come to you and start those conversations. So all these numbers here are designed to help you see the pathway towards what's going to actually happen. So for example, if you now know that it's going to be 2 to 3 months, you're not going to be butthurt if after the first month, she's not ready to be the girlfriend because you now know the math on that it's going to take on average about 2 to 3 months for her. So even though she's giving you all the hookups and complimenting you all the time, don't assume these things mean that she's made the complete thought commitment of wanting you to be that person. All that nice stuff she's doing is great, but we want to make sure that she's so dedicated to you and has so high of a feeling for you that she can't help but just burst out, I want to be with you. What are we going to be? And that happens after 10 days, right? And then from there, you have 2 years, which is about the average amount of time that you'll be in a relationship with the girl before she really starts thinking about like, why aren't we married yet? Why haven't we proposed? What's going on? And so you typically have like a good 2-year window. And again, these are all averages. Some women after like a year will be like, hey, I want to start talking about marriage. And if that happens, that's totally fine. But assume that, because again, just like women bring up being in a relationship, women will start giving you strong hints that they're ready to be the wife. And get proposed to, and that'll usually start happening around like the 18th month. But between like months 18 to 24, i.e. 2 years, that's when it's going to ramp up to where she starts asking questions. Hey, my girlfriends are wondering we've been going out for 2 years. Like, what's going on? It's been great so far. Where do you see this going? Do you see this being a long-term thing? Are you wanting to plan a family with me? Like those kind of things, right? That's about 2 years, right? And then lastly, we have what I call zero math. These are things, especially during the dating process, that you should not be doing. So during the dating process, there should be 0 from you. 0 talking about feelings, 0 talking about future stuff. There should be 0 talking about wanting to be in a relationship with her. Your job is to show actions. You're taking her out. You're showing her a good time. You're giving her great hookups. These are all actions that she's going to read as he probably wants me, but you verbally actually saying it could be to your detriment on average. Another thing, 0 talk about negative things. During the first 3 months, you should be talking about mostly positive things because the goal is to make sure that she sees you as the kind of guy that is all about positivity and has a great lifestyle and is upbeat and is friendly and is kind. And so the only time you want to bring up anything negative is if you can spin it into something positive. Like, I went through this hard time, but it brought me out on this end, and I learned so much from it that now I'm a better person. That's where you're giving her the story of a negative thing happened and it turned into a positive. Those are always great. But you just being like, my life sucks, my job sucks, my family sucks, and I just feel like people always stomp on me. And the big one that guys do is like, all these girls just play with my heart and don't want to stick around, blah, blah, blah. Because you're thinking if you tell her that, she's going to want to stay around. And she's just thinking, this guy's depressing. I don't want to keep dating him because he's just, really a negative ninny, And then also no talking about super serious topics. And this is when we get to things like trauma bonding, you talking about the traumas you face and the time that your uncle did this to you or whatever. Like, even if that stuff actually happened, I don't want you getting with women and trauma bonding with them because those end up being negative, toxic, tumultuous relationships. Again, if that stuff happened, I feel sorry for you. Go to therapy, talk to your homeboys, but don't bring this out on date to try to win sympathy points or to try to say, you hear her story about she went through something. Oh, I got to say my negative things so we can bond about that. Don't do that. Like, that's not a really great way to connect with somebody and have that work out long term, unless you guys are just going to be in a negative space the whole time. You can do that. I find it depressing. But anyway, hopefully the numbers that you have now learned about have helped you to better understand the ebb and flow of how dating should actually function. Even with that said, I've listed a bunch of the timetables, but you may have more questions about what do those timetables actually look like? What do me waiting 2 to 3, waiting 4 days between dates to contact her? What's happening in her head? And what should I be doing during that time? How should I ask for a second date? What should I be looking out for during this time on X amount of days and times that's going to actually be beneficial to me in the long run? If you need help with that, you can go to harrywilmington.com. You can sign up for one-on-one coaching. You can also check out my Get Girls Academy program, where you have unlimited access to me by way of email coaching, in addition to a bunch of other programs that will walk you through some of the many questions that you may have. All right. So definitely check that out at the website. All right. We got a question in the chat. The question goes, what about when she's your girlfriend? Is it best to still not reach out as much as possible unless she texts first? The girl I'm dating, I saw Wednesday, which was 2 days ago, when she got emotional and was on her period. She hasn't texted me. Am I just being paranoid? I figured she would reach out by now. So again, in terms of the dating process of things, your goal is to reach out to try to ask her on dates. Now, when you become the actual boyfriend, things do change slightly, but I'll say this. I find in my relationships, I still don't reach out that much. Like, real talk, for one, if you're in a relationship, you're typically seeing each other like 2 to 3 times a week. So there's not necessarily need to have to text all the time. But even then, like to this day, I still generally text for like information stuff. Hey, I'm going to work. Hey, I'm doing a show. Hey, I want to take you out later tonight to do X, Y, and Z. And I leave it at that. So if I were you, I would just reach out to ask her out. Like, real talk. As the guy, you're still going to be the one that is mostly expected to reach out to ask for dates. So do that. You'd be like, hey, what's today? It's Friday. So like, hey, wanted to see what you were doing Sunday. Want to take you out for, breakfast, lunch, dinner, some activity, walk in the park. I don't know if you live near a beach or near a park or whatever, but whatever is help for you. Or, hey, was thinking we could, meet up for like a dinner date night where we cook each other dinner. Like, yeah, you should be reaching out to ask her out on a date still. Like that's not going to ever change. Like, yes, there's going to be times where maybe she reaches out a bit more, but don't think, again, I try to stress this too, is that the things that you did to get this woman are going to be the same things you need to keep doing in order to keep her around. So if you were doing limited texting during the dating phase, I got news for you. You should keep doing that. I don't change up my texting patterns all that much when I'm in a relationship, other than they might sporadically hear from me a little bit more during the week. But for the most part, again, I'm going to see them in person. And also, like, if I got them by not texting so much, why would I now change up the program? Like, and too many guys think that I got to switch up every single thing I did once I get a girlfriend, and that is not the case. The reality is you should still be doing about the same amount of texting, and don't think that just because she's not texting you all the time that she's losing interest. Again, in my relationships, I already established from like date one, I'm not a heavy texter. So the girls that I date know if I don't hear from Harry all that much, he's already set that up. That's actually normal. And I have found women are actually typically relieved that they don't feel like they have to text me all that much to keep my interest, So again, however she was texting before, don't think it's going to change up. Don't think it's going to be extra, right? So just hopefully that helps you out, because I don't want you to get paranoid or start thinking like, oh my God, like it's been 2 days since I heard from her personally. Reach out and ask her for a date and see how she responds. If she happens to still be mad about the little episode, it is what it is, and you can talk to her about it or something like that. But again, as I stressed before in previous episodes, what you did was not any kind of serious crime. You should not be treating this like you did anything majorly wrong. But if you treat it like that, you're projecting onto her that what you did is a serious crime. And when you project that, she's going to think, I now got to act like this is a super serious thing he did. And it's really not. It's really not. So hopefully it helps you out. Another question in the chat. Hey, Harry, is it too early to buy my girlfriend a gift for Christmas? By then, we would have hit 3 weeks. I'm still on the fence about the gift. Well, this falls into, now that you're actually in a relationship, holidays are fine. So yes, now that you're the boyfriend, you should be thinking about a gift to buy her. It ain't got to be a super big gift. Women like stuff that is sentimental, that lets them know how much you know them and stuff like that. So you ain't got to pay a lot of money for that. But yeah, you as the boyfriend now, you should be getting a gift. If you were still dating her without any titles, I would say objectively, don't do anything, but you got titles now. So also assume because you have titles, she's probably going to get you something also. I know you're probably not thinking of it in that vein, but like, yeah, I find in relationships, women typically go all out, especially that first Christmas. They're usually thinking like, I got to show him like just how much I care for him without saying I love you necessarily because we may not be there yet. So yeah, expect her to get you a gift also. And if she doesn't, let me know because that's a whole different conversation, you know? Anyway, guys, this is a short show. I have other stuff I got to attend to. I'm about to do like a chat with somebody else on something. So I will bid you all adieu. Thank you guys for checking out this video. Hopefully the numbers have helped you out to better equate your situation. And I will check with you guys on the next episode. For those of you that are not yet subscribed to the Get Girls Academy membership, go to harrywilmington.com and check it out. Also, for this podcast listeners, Harry Wilmington, you can check me out on YouTube at youtube.com/Harry Wilmington. And if you want to leave a super chat or you want to just like, thank you, boy, for all this great information, you can cash at me at $Harry Wilmington. That's all I got. I'll catch you guys later. Hey there, thanks for tuning in to Harry Dating Convos. Don't forget to visit harrywilmington.com to download my free ebook, Texting Women Like a Boss. And while you're there, if you're ready to take things to the next level with your dating life, check out the Get Girls Academy membership program for exclusive strategies and live coaching. Go to harrywilmington.com to learn more and join today. Lastly, if you've got a question you'd like answered on one of these shows, leave a comment below or write me at harrywilmington@gmail.com. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.